And welcome to our mayoral election candidates forum sponsored by the Paterson Municipal Council. My name is Sonia L. Gordon, and I'm the municipal clerk for the city of Paterson, and I'll be your moderator for this afternoon. At this time, I will ask everyone to rise for a moment of silence for one of our fallen officers, and Mr. Cruz will follow from there. Thank you.
Let's please have a moment of silence for our departed brother, Detective Sayegh, who served the city of Paterson for 13 years, and yesterday he laid down his life protecting the great city of Paterson and its great residents. Let's keep his family, our brother officers that are grieving at this time, in your thoughts and your prayers as we face this difficult time in the city of Adre. Thank you.
Please be seated. Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Our thoughts and prayers are here for the family. We'll now continue our forum. The purpose of this forum is to formally present the mayoral candidates in the upcoming municipal election on Tuesday, May 8, 2018, and for you, the viewers, voters, to hear their platform and or views on which they are seeking to be elected to fill the office of mayor. There are 6 mayoral candidates, but you will only vote for one candidate on May 8th. The candidates listed on the ballot for the office of mayor are in alphabetical order. I will call them in alphabetical order. They're on the ballot by their 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, and 6A. At this time, I will present to you our 6 candidates: Mr. Alex Cruz, Mr. Michael Jackson, Mr. William Bill McKoy, Mr. Alex Mendez, Mr. Pedro Rodriguez, and Mr. Adre Sayegh. Please use this forum to familiarize yourself with the candidates as well as to listen to their views. As moderator, I will strictly enforce the time allotted to each candidate, maintain the quorum of discipline, and will intervene in the event of any deviations from the spirit and purpose of the forum. I must ask that candidates show respect and courtesy to each other. Each candidate will have 5 minutes to present his opening remarks in alphabetical order. Each candidate is permitted to ask the other candidate 3 questions in one round, and the responsive candidates will have 2 minutes to respond. There will be absolutely no rebuttal at any candidate, whether you are the one asking or responding to a question. Candidates will have 5 minutes to wrap up or give his closing remarks. I'm also joined today by some of my staff members, Ms. Joan Campbell-Douglas, Deputy Clerk, who will monitor the time, and Ms. Jacqueline Murray, Administrative Secretary, and Ms. Paola Ruiz, Administrative Secretary. Thank you, and we'll now begin the forum. At this time, I will begin with our first candidate for opening remarks, who will be Mr. Alex Cruz, and he has 5 minutes to respond, for his opening remarks. Mr. Cruz, you may begin.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having us out here. I want to first start by thanking City Clerk, Mrs. Gordon, fellow candidates, our council members, and most importantly, our Honorable Janie Williams, our mayor. On May 8th, just 16 days from now, the City of Paterson, you, the residents, are going to have to elect an individual that's going to be representing you, your family, and the great city of Paterson for the next 4 years. Have you been seen by a couple of mayoral debates, whether social media or on public access channel? A lot of the candidates have been indicating that public safety is priority number 1. Well, I'm going to tell you about the candidate, Alex Cruz. I am that law and order public safety candidate. Alex Cruz has been embedded in the city of Paterson
for 24 years on the front lines of our city. Alex Cruz has left blood, sweat, and tears on the pavement of the city of Paterson, protecting you, your family, our children, and the entire city of Paterson through every single ward. Alex Cruz is that law enforcement advocate that will give you cleaner streets, will give you safer streets, by providing that example of a true leader, leading by example in the front line. Alex Cruz will make sure that I restore the pride back into the residents by giving you cleaner, safer streets, giving you cleaner parks, and stop all the illegal activities that take place in our parks that our children can enjoy. Alex Cruz will continue to be the biggest advocate for our youth, to make sure that we are given the opportunity to bring in recreational programs to safeguard our children by giving them an avenue, something away from the streets. Alex Cruz will be the biggest advocate with the Board of Education members and also the Superintendent, Mrs. Schaefer, to make sure that we are given the opportunity that our children desperately need in the Board of Educational process, to make sure we are given all the tools necessary for our children to go. Alex Cruz will bring in the Inspector General to make sure we restore confidence back into the government, which will stop waste, abuse, fraud, and all the corruption that's in our city. Alex Cruz will be the biggest advocate to make sure that economic development comes in here. And it all starts with public safety. I will reach out with the Fortune 500 companies, the philanthropists. I will reach out to every single state, federal entity to make sure that we get retention grants, hiring grants, to make sure that I'll bring in more than 100 police officers to safeguard the streets. Alex Cruz will bring in the substations necessary to curb the crime in the belly of the beast in our city. Alex Cruz will be the biggest advocate to make sure that this city is given the opportunity that it rightfully deserves so that our children, our seniors, could enjoy the streets as they're designed to be enjoyed. Alex Cruz, as your next mayor, will be the leader, just like our former Frank Graves, an individual that led by example, being out in the streets at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Alex Cruz has lived that life. And as your mayor, on May 8th, I will continue to lead by example my entire career. This individual is committed. This individual has a passion. This individual has a commitment to the city of Paterson. And it's to make sure that we are given the opportunity, that our children, our seniors, are given the opportunity to make sure that we make Paterson a vibrant city that it's supposed to be. Alex Cruz on 4A on May 8th as the mayoral candidate and the only advocate for public safety with 24 years embedded in our streets and our pavement. Alex Cruz will continue that dedication that I dealt with my entire life and make sure that this work ethic that I have will be given to you, your family, your children, and our great city of Paterson. May God bless you and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. We'll now hear from our next candidate who will present his 5-minute statement, Mr. Michael Jackson. Mr. Jackson, you may.
Madam Clerk, thank you very much. Good afternoon, Paterson. Thank you for taking time out to investigate and do your due diligence in finding out who would be the best person suited to lead our community, our city, into the future. My name is Mike Jackson. I'm a dedicated Patersonian. I've been an avid supporter of what's right in our community. I have been the person that I would like to think has been diligent on standing fast and standing hard on what is absolutely right for the community. I have sat in this chair, this exact chair, as a matter of fact, for the past 2.5 years, and I've stood alone on many instances on things that I knew was definitely wrong for Paterson. I've advocated hard and therefore have lived up to the name that was placed on my first campaign as the advocate, consistently advocating for what was right for Paterson, regardless of whomever brought the measure forward. If I was indifferent of any other council person or the administration and the measure was being brought forward that was favorable for the community, I would not ever stand against it only for my own political positioning. This is what we've been witnessing for the past several decades. We've been witnessing political agendas that have taken over and quite frankly, have destroyed the integrity of our city. We have innocent people walking around in our community that have no idea on what the decisions that are being made and how they're being impacted by them. I've stood strong and stood fast each and every night, regardless. I've done my due diligence. I've done my homework. I've never come to this dais without the information that was best suited for the community. I've always voted for the utmost, highest integrity, of which I cannot say that I've seen that being done since my tenure here and before and prior to. Unfortunately, we have to live with some harsh realities and some real facts. And the fact is, our community has not been getting driven in the right direction for quite some time. And each and every one of you, I think, would be willing to acknowledge that. We have sat and watched some people do poor things, make poor decisions, and we have not said anything. We have sat and been a part of poor decisions and beneficial situations that are unfavorable for the community. And I'm proud to say that I have never done so. I've never placed myself in a position to compromise my integrity or the best positioning for the community. And each and every measure that I've stood strong and fast against, I have yet to be challenged on. I've fought hard against instances and issues such as $500,000 fences that do not benefit the city. I fought hard against poor spending, poor decision-making processes for the Hinchcliffe Stadium. It has sat dormant for almost 15 years, and yet and still we've seen no progress, but we spent millions of dollars on it thus far in the amount of $3 million. The roads, they're in deplorable conditions. Properties that have been purchased that I've stood hard against and been non-favorable for properties that have been purchased against the betterment of our community. Let me not have to mention the all well-known trailer park that's being placed there that is not servicing the needs of our community. The 30-year park arrangement. I've brought measures forward that have not been looked upon favorably for other political reasons. People like Ray Lewis, who've taken time out to come here and assist our community with moving us forward in the areas of green energy and creating jobs and opportunities for our people. My job as the mayor would be to bring the absolute utmost best scenarios forward for the community, the Paterson residents first, without political agenda, without political affiliations, without anyone tied to me or telling me this is the direction you're going in. Paterson has been driven for too long with too many ambitious politicians. I'm the non-politician, and I stand hard in that position. I would continue to advocate for our community, and I want to be the one to drive our community forward, to do what's right by the young people, by the seniors, by all of the people who reside in this community. My name is Michael Jackson. I'm the ballot position 5A. I've been the absolute most consistent, the utmost avid fighter for what's right, and no one can contest that, and no one has paralleled that notion. I hope to gain your support on May 8th, and I hope to move our community forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Our next candidate to present his 5 minutes opening remarks would be Mr. William Bill McKoy. Mr. McKoy, you may begin.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
To the residents of our great city of Paterson, and to all of my fellow candidates for the office of mayor, I extend to you a special greeting. Certainly our condolences to the police department and the city of Paterson, the loss of one of our police officers this week. And I know that has to be a difficult challenge for all of us. Paterson is in a critical situation now. We are fiscally in a jam, if you would, and it seems just yesterday, in my mind, I was a young kid running around the halls of John F. Kennedy and playing on Pennington Park's fields. But things have changed, and we are here. I'm Councilman Bill McKoy. I have been serving this municipal council for the last 17 years, going on 18. I am, in fact, the longest-serving councilman. And I come to you with the experience of not only the council, but also serving on the Board of Education, where I served as president as well. This young kid that graduated from John F. Kennedy High School went on to William Paterson, earned a degree in accounting and finance, later went on to work for New Jersey Bell through its many names for 21 years in the telecommunication field. On a rotation to Belcor, also served as a project manager and developer of the Schools and Libraries Corporation program that was being instituted by the federal government to connect schools and libraries to the internet. So I have the accounting and finance background. I have an auditing background for over 20 years, and I've managed multi-million-dollar budgets. At this critical time, I believe that I'm well prepared to wrestle with the hard decisions of the city of Paterson and to come up with the right solutions and the right answers. This recently, the Moody's rating organization upgraded Paterson's bond rating. And one of the reasons they did that, they cited our stable financial situation, although we're in difficult times, and the fact that we were able to approve our budgets and to move forward. Those were difficult decisions for us, but it yielded us a benefit in that our credit rating is much better, which means that we will pay less in interest charges for bonds and other financing that we have to do. What does that mean to us as a city? Similar to you at home, whether you're a credit card or buying a car, the lower your credit score, the higher interest you pay, which means you put out more money out of your pocket. So I'm one of those council people that are willing not to hide from the hard decisions or the tough issues that face us, but have the gusto and the business savvy to understand the decisions that we must make. I put forth that we need to wrestle with all of those issues across the city, trying to make sure that we have, economic development in our city, that we can attract new businesses. And a fine example of that has to be Route 20, and taking literal action on the municipal council to make that possible, to make sure our streets are safe and clean, make sure we increase our revenue resources, as we talked about the expansion of DPW, making that effective. We've also implemented a program that the fire department, in conjunction with DPW, will begin to do our demolition in-house, thereby saving the city of Paterson. These are initiatives and strategies that we must continue to employ in order to improve the condition of our city for all of our residents, along with streamlining our services and making sure that we advance technology in our city and that technology works for us and give us a return on investment. I am Councilman Bill McKoy, 6A on the ballot, and I recommend on May 8th that we go out and vote for sound experience and proven leadership. I've lived in this community for over 40 years. My wife and I have raised 3 children, all born and raised in the city of Paterson, attended Paterson Public Schools, and we are a part of this community. And that is why I'm putting myself forward as a candidate for mayor. I have the heart, the passion, the skill set, and the understanding of the difficult issues that we face and how we can resolve those issues in our best interests. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity to present. I think this year has been the greatest number of forums and debates that we've seen in a mayoral candidate. And I'm excited about that, because the more you know about us, is the more qualified you'll be to make your selection on May 8th. God bless you, and thank you for your commitment and service in the city of Paterson.
Thank you, Mr. McKoy. Our next candidate to present his opening 5-minute statement will be Mr. Alex Mendez.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good afternoon, Paterson. Before I open with my five-minute remark, I would like to also express my deepest condolences to the family of that great officer that lost his life in this week. We lost a great officer in the city of Paterson. For me, it's been a great privilege to serve in the city of Paterson for the past 9 years. I'm currently serving as your councilman at large, but I started in 2010. I've been calling Paterson my home for close to 20 years, coming into the city, raising my family, my 3 beautiful children, attending Paterson Public School. And in 2010, the resident of the city of Paterson gave me the privilege to start serving as your board commissioner at the Board of Education, fighting to make sure that we have a better school system. I proved my leadership at the Board of Education, introducing legislation like that uniform policy legislations, but also fighting to have a better curriculum and improving our safety at the Board of Education. And one step extremely important is to regain local control, and in collaboration with my fellow board member, we make that happen. In 2014, I have the privilege again to be elected as your councilman at large, and since then, I've been working day and night, putting Paterson first, making every decision on behalf and for the benefit of the resident of the city of Paterson. And I will continue to do so as your next mayor this May 8, 2018, 1A on the ballot. And it's extremely important that we understand that we're going through a very difficult time in the city of Paterson, and I believe that it's time to put Paterson first right now by bringing the right safety plan in place to bring safety into all our neighborhood, not only one section of the city of Paterson. It's time to put Paterson first with Alex Mendez as your mayor by bringing the most aggressive recreational program into the city of Paterson to give our children the opportunity that they deserve in partnership with the Paterson Board of Education, making sure that we utilize those resources that we have at this time to serve in a better capacity, and also utilizing the resources that we have at the county level. They deserve more from us, and the only way that we're going to take our children off the street is by giving them that opportunity. And I will be that person, I will be the mayor who will connect those 3 entities to work together to move Paterson in the right direction. And I've been advocating for effective shared services agreement from this position for the past almost 4 years. And as your mayor, we will make that happen. And I also believe that it's time to put Paterson first with Alex Mendez as your mayor by bringing the most clean-up program into the city of Paterson. We have to clean our city. We have to change the image and the perception of our city. And I also believe that it's time to put Paterson first with Alex Mendez by introducing responsible budget that reflect the quality of service that our community deserves. And off by introducing irresponsible budget into every year, fiscal year. And I will be that person, I will be that mayor. My heart is in this city. And I've been proving that not before I've been elected into a position. And something very important that the community knows is that I'm everywhere. You don't see Alex Mendez only on election day. I use my community service, my community activity to be close to the community. You see Alex Mendez putting an event together in every corner of the city of Paterson, because that's the only way that you will understand the need of the section of the city of Paterson. That's the only way that you will be able to help the community. And what I will promise to you now is that Alex Mendez will be a mayor who's going to be out there in the street, fighting to make sure that we have the city that we all deserve, changing the image and the perception of the city, and fighting for our residents. And I've been doing that. I've been taking every decision, just thinking and putting our Patersonian first. And that's something that we have to put in place. Something that I will promise to my Patersonian is that we will put in place the most diverse administration. And we will definitely initiate with a transitional team that reflects the community that we have in the city of Paterson. To put Paterson first by giving the opportunity of those positions that we have in the city of Paterson to our Patersonian, not to outsiders. We have to put Paterson first. But actions speak louder than words, and I will be the mayor who will take those decisions. I'm a man of action, and you see me through my community activity, giving toys every year to thousands of children just to be close to the community and listen to their concern, helping people to get health coverage just to listen to their need and their concern, helping the community to make sure that they get the opportunity to buy property in the city of Paterson, to get those funding to listen to those needs in our community, I will be that mayor for you. I will be the person that will fight day and night to make Paterson better. I've been proving my leadership, and I'm ready to put Paterson first with Alex Mendez as your mayor, and I'm 1A on the ballot. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome, Mr. Mendez. Thank you. Our next candidate will be Mr. Pedro Rodriguez, who will present his 5-minute opening statement. Mr. Rodriguez, you may begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, for organizing this event in which we're going to be able to display and present our plans to the residents of the city of Paterson. I want to start by thanking God for giving us the opportunity to be here because, as many of you know, we lost an officer yesterday, so our hearts and prayer are with that family and the police department in the city of Paterson. I also want to thank my team, and especially within my team, my wife that is sitting in the audience there, for having the courage, the resiliency, and for all of your commitment to this city, the city that we love. To the residents of the city of Paterson, I came to Paterson when I was 12 for the very first time. I went to 47 North York Street in the 4th Ward, where my 2 grandparents were renting a second-floor apartment. My grandparents were just regular Patersonians working in factories, but that opportunity that Paterson gave them gave me an opportunity to acquire an education. I'm an electronic engineer with a master's in business and administration from Mercy College, New York, and I serve and work close to 20 years for the largest telecommunication company in the world. I was an operations manager in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island. As soon as I was able to save some money with my wife, the first place that we wanted to buy, we did it here in the city of Paterson. So we bought our first home in 104 North 6th Street between Clinton and Jefferson in the 1st Ward, where we grow and we had all of our kids. A few years later, after moving into the 1st Ward, I moved to the 3rd Ward. Me and Graciela, we have 4 boys that attend Paterson Public Schools. They walk the same streets that you walk and your children walk. They go to the same schools, they go to the same park, and we feel the same things that you feel as a family. The fear of how crime has been taking us and taking every single corner in the city of Paterson. My children, as well as your children, are deprived of recreational opportunities, educational opportunities, and jobs. As a public servant, I was elected to the Board of Education in 2009. I was commissioner of the zoning board, commissioner of the planning board, and I was deputy mayor of the city of Paterson. And to be quite transparent and open with every single one of you, I was deputy mayor during the time of Joey Torres. But when I saw some of the things that, unethical things that the previous mayor was doing, I wrote a resignation letter and I handed it to the mayor because I wouldn't do anything that would embarrass my boys, my family, my community, or this city. We have laid out, if you look at my public experience, my private experience, gave me the opportunity to lay out a plan that is clear and consistent with the challenges that our city faces today. That's why reduction of crime is in our top priority. We are presenting a holistic plan and to approach and combat crime corner by corner in our city with solutions that will correct not only the root of the problem, but also is going to detain the increasing crime activities that we have in our street. For that, we will reform the police department so we can have more boots on the ground. We want to have a police department that reflects the diversity that our city residents have. We will double the number of public cameras that we have in the city, and we're going to upgrade the ones that we have. We're going to expand Eyes on Paterson program. We're going to promote Text for Tips. Much of the strategy of fighting crimes in the city hasn't been yielding the results that we all deserve. We are going to fight crime and change the way we fight crime by educating our children. Incarceration is not a solution for nonviolent criminals. So it's going to cost us a lot less to put a kid through a vocational school than sending them to a jail. In the state of New Jersey, it costs us more than $61,000 to keep an inmate during a full year. But if we decide to put them in Hohokus or a vocational school, it's only going to cost us $11,000 to $12,000. In terms of, that's why we're introducing what is going to be called Saving Lives, Saving Money. In regards of economic development, I'm the only one of all the candidates who has a holistic approach and presenting a plan that is going to empower the Patersonians to acquire the abandoned properties. Some of my opponents have praised the reduction of abandoned properties in the city when developers continue to take it. That doesn't help the city. I want to see a city in which regular Patersonians can acquire the properties and prosper in our city. That's why we are putting a plan together like that. In terms of finance, as soon as we get there, we are going to do a forensic audit of all of our finance departments to make sure that we eradicate corruption and all of the wasteful spending in the city. We will start with a zero-based budget in which every department head will have to tell us why they need to spend every single dollar, and we're going to analyze how those dollars are spent. Thank you very much. Pedro Rodriguez, 3A.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Our next candidate to present his 5-minute opening statement is Mr. Adre. Mr. Sayegh may begin.
Madam Clerk, I'd like to first thank you for opening with a moment of silence in honor of our officer, Sayegh. May he rest in eternal peace, and I want to extend my condolences to his family and his extended family within the Paterson Police Department. Paterson is the only home I've ever known. It's where I was raised by a single immigrant mother who drove a bus and was the driving force in my life. And my mother's dream was that I would receive a quality education and go on to become a productive citizen. And I'd like to think that I've made my mother proud, because I went to Seton Hall University and graduated with the highest honors, being the valedictorian of the class of 1997. And then I went on to Columbia University and earned my master's degree in public policy and administration. Proud to say that I've been a college professor for 18 years. And today, my wife and I, we're raising our 2 daughters here in Paterson. And in August, we're expecting a son. So for this, my only home, and the only home that my children have ever known, I believe that as a candidate for mayor, we're in need of home improvement in Paterson. And I'm running because I have a track record of making repairs. I faced a critical situation early on in my council career. Man was murdered across the street from a go-go bar on Robert Street. And we took swift action. We mobilized the residents, and we made sure that that go-go bar's doors would never open again, so that we would ensure safety in that section of South Paterson. Some months later, we had another situation, and this time on 21st Avenue, where in an infamous nightclub, you had an individual murdered inside after hours. Again, connecting with the community, communicating with the community, we're able to get positive results and ultimately shut that infamous go-go bar down. Another situation we were confronted with was the Lava Lounge, which was by far the most notorious nightclub on Montclair Avenue in South Paterson. The problem was that within this establishment, there was drugs, guns, prostitutes. And again, we took the fight to them. It ultimately ended up being a successful story for a working-class neighborhood where these residents were only looking for a decent night's sleep. And today I'm proud to say that that once notorious nightclub that was compromising the quality of life for my residents in South Paterson is now a preschool for 75 children, and so they could receive a quality education, much like what my mother wanted for me. As a councilman, I've advocated and I've introduced legislation to improve people's lives. One example of the advocacy: hundreds of residents of the 6th Ward were paying thousands of dollars for flood insurance that they should have never paid for to begin with. There wasn't a flood in the area for 60 years. And so what we did was we took the fight to FEMA, and ultimately what was required was to revise the flood maps. And thankfully, because of our advocacy, the flood maps have been revised, and hundreds of Patersonians are saving thousands of dollars every year because of our action. The 6th Ward has become safer over the course of 10 years. And as a result, it has become stronger. And it's a model, it's a microcosm of what we can do in all 6 wards. we've reduced crime and increased investment, creating job opportunities for individuals. And as mayor, economic development will be a priority, but public safety comes first. At the end of next month, we'll have a substation in South Paterson, further ensuring the safety of our most vibrant business district in Paterson. Within the first 100 days of my administration, I will address public safety. We'll be hiring 28 new police officers who will be on foot patrol. Within the next year, we anticipate 70 retirements within the police department, which would potentially afford us an opportunity to hire even more police officers. Conceivably, for every one that retires, we can hire 3. I also want to finish the work that we're doing at the Great Falls. We'll be cutting a ribbon within the first 100 days of my administration on an amphitheater. Because if we're going to become a Renaissance city, we have to embrace the arts. And there's no reason why, from the train station to the Great Falls National Park, we can't create this entertainment epicenter. People tell me all the time that they want to spend money in Paterson, but they feel as if there isn't much to do, and they'd rather go elsewhere, whether it be Hoboken or Montclair. Within the first 100 days of my administration, we obviously will make accountability and transparency the order of the day. We must move beyond the crime and corruption that has plagued Paterson. I believe that I am qualified because of the record of results that I'm proud of. So Paterson should no longer be known as the city of the past. As mayor of Paterson, we'll make it a city of the future.
Thank you, Mr. Sayegh. At this time, we'll now move on to our question and answer period. And we will begin with our first candidate, Mr. Alex Cruz.
Okay, this question is...
No, you're going on that side.
I have to move over there.
Yes. Candidates may ask other candidates 3 questions during their allotted time. Candidates may ask other candidates 3 questions during their allotted time. And candidates will be allowed 2 minutes to respond to each question. Mr. Cruz, you may begin. Thank you.
Okay, my first question is for mayoral candidate Pedro Rodriguez. During all the mayoral debates, you promoted that you were totally against nepotism. Do you know the definition of nepotism? I think that I'm pretty sure that you know that you are a product of that nepotism. Nepotism, in your last campaign, not only you received a job, part of that nepotism, but you also, a job was created for you under nepotism. You indicated that when you saw the corruption of what was going on in the city, you did not want to embarrass your family. Then why didn't you resign your position that you received under nepotism?
Go ahead.
Yes, sir, you can go ahead.
The first thing, it doesn't look like Mr. Cruz knows the definition of nepotism. I have no families, no friends working under me and for me in the city of Paterson. The second thing, and I want to clarify this for the city of residents of the city of Paterson, my position in the police department is a civil service position. It's a civil service position. I scored #1 in the evaluation in the entire state of New Jersey. So as soon as I saw that the former mayor was acting unethically, I resigned from any position that he appointed me to, which was deputy mayor and the position of commissioner of the planning board, because I want no association with anybody who is corrupt, with anyone who has anything to do with taking funds from the city of Paterson. Different than you, which you are being supported by the same mayor, Mayor Joey Torres. We've seen how many of his family members are supporting you, funding you. I don't accept $1 from them, and I have no problems with the rest of the family, but I didn't want to have any association with Mayor Torres. My position, again, I guess the mayor and the city council understood at the time that the cameras, 90% of the cameras were down. They found a need for it, and they posted the position. I applied, and when I was hired, without any investment from the city, most of the cameras are working, and more programs were able to put on the table to the benefit of the residents of the city of Paterson.
Thank you. You may continue, Mr. Cruz, with your second question.
My next question is for Mayor candidate Pedro Rodriguez. You indicated that you will not take any money from special interest, and I applaud you. I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Now, one of the other things also is you indicated about the cameras. You indicated that the cameras weren't not working, 90% weren't working during the mayoral debates. You're priding yourself on how you transform the camera system that it's working in the city of Paterson, which we all know it's false. You indicated that in the civil service that you scored #1 out of how many people took that job that was created, that title, in order for you to apply for that civil service position. You also indicated that, which what I've read in the newspapers, that you and your Mr. Jacquin, I believe is his name, that you solicited a contract for cameras to be installed in his private businesses or residence that he has, and you sold them on the false pretense that it was going to be instituted with the Paterson Police Department to view them. And in that article, it also indicated that you orchestrated a private tour of a public safety facility, a private tour of a secure facility in the city of Paterson for your own benefit. Mr. Rodriguez, you talk about nepotism, you talk about transparency, but for what I'm seeing is you like to throw dirt somewhere else, so like that, they don't see the dirt that you hide. So my question is, those cameras, you indicated that you're not a owner of that. Why are you an owner of that? Why are you getting benefits out of that? Why are you sending people to the public safety complex to benefit you when this is supposed to be a secure facility for your own benefit? And please, do not embarrass your family.
Mr. Cruz, may you give me one quick second before Mr. Rodriguez answer? Go ahead. Mr. Rodriguez, you may begin. Thank you. You can answer the question. Go ahead.
The fact of the matter is that everything that you're saying is false. What you are reading is a developer who got pissed off and sued me for something that I have nothing to do with it. I have never sold a camera. I have never promoted a camera, not only to Mr. Florio, but to anyone in the city of Paterson. The reason why Mr. Florio got pissed is because I said that I was going to give the properties, the abandoned properties, to the residents of the city of Paterson. And I stand by my remarks. So since he has been buying most of those properties, he got pissed. And he tried to make something up. I have never given any tours. I have never promoted a camera business. I don't own a camera business. So he's trying to associate me with things that I have nothing to do. I'm putting a lawsuit that I just got, and my attorneys are reviewing because we're going to do a countersuit for defamation. I have nothing to do with that. And I'm doubling down on the fact that the properties that are abandoned in the city of Paterson will go to regular residents of the city of Paterson, regardless of Mr. Florio's, who's funding politicians, or get pissed off or not. I met him for 10 seconds one time in which Adre introduced me to him for 10 seconds. It was hello, hello. And then I have never talked to the guy, never met the guy. We haven't coincided in any locations, places. I don't even know the guy. So it was a frivolous suit. It was a lie. And I have nothing to do with that person in any way, shape, or form. So you're going to see that in court. It has nothing to do. I've always kept everything in a straight and narrow line. What was that?
Mr. Cruz, you may continue with your third and last question.
My next question is for Mayoral candidate Councilman Adre Sayegh and also Mayoral candidate Pedro Rodriguez. As we all know that Alex Cruz is not a politician. Funding a campaign is extremely hard. I've never done nothing, I've never taken a task like this at hand. And I'm proud that I am calling individuals to support this worthy cause to transform our city. My question is, are you making sure that you report everything in your ELEC reports, and you are also reporting all the cash that's going out there? Because we all know I'm not a politician and I'm just getting into the rules and regulations of the ELEC reports. Every single thing that we pay out there, whether it's a newspaper ad or anything, has to be paid with a check where there's accountability, transparency. So my question is, are you paying the campaign with cash out in the street? And if so, do you realize that's a criminal act? That could maybe land you also incarcerated.
So you're posing this question to Mr. Mendez and Mr. Sayegh?
Mr. Sayegh and Mr. Rodriguez.
Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Sayegh. So you can begin with the first one.
Excuse me?
Who would you like to speak first to answer the question?
Mr. Rodriguez.
Okay.
Sure. Why not? When we talk about honesty, let me just get right to your question. Everything that we have raised in this campaign, we put it to the public. The only candidate who's self-funding his campaign that is not taking money from developers or special interests is me. I'm putting everything out there for people to ask questions. Every single expense is paid with checks, every single expense or the debit card of the campaign, and we report it on time. Different than you, Mr. Cruz, who, by the way, maybe you are new here because you are just getting to Paterson, you don't even live here. But you were the one who was late. Your report just showed up today. Almost everybody, the 4 out of the 6 candidates reported their contributions on time, because that's part of their responsibility, to pay your bills on time, to do your duties on time, not to lie in public, not to lie in court, like you did by saying that you were a part-time resident. City of Paterson, we don't need a part-time mayor. We need a full-time mayor who's not embarrassed to raise his kids in the city of Paterson. That's what we need. My kids go to Paterson Public Schools, and I'm proud of it. Not like you. So that's a big difference that we have. And to be honest with you, I don't waste much time with you because really nobody knows you. You take pride for many of the things that the PVA does, which you are the president, but that's not you. It's a collaboration of all of the police officers in the city of Paterson. So please, focus on your campaign, keep it positive, and don't make things up. It doesn't look good when a police officer goes to court and lie. It doesn't look good when a police officer does what you are doing. It's a disgrace.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Would you like to continue, Mr. Sayegh? Sure.
Today, Cruz, first, I appreciate your service to our country as a Marine, and I also appreciate your service to our city as a Paterson police officer. And I thank you for that question, because my campaign prides itself on being transparent. That's how my administration is going to be. We are held accountable to the highest set of standards. And that's why we make it a point to submit our ELEC reports on time, all the time. We have to disclose our donors. People need to know where that money is coming from. You've heard from Mr. Rodriguez. Fortunately, at his headquarters recently, he had rappers who were handing out cash to kids. I believe it's entirely unethical and it's bad optics as far as trying to move away from the culture of corruption that has existed for too long here at City Hall. So you won't find my campaign distributing cash. Everything is accounted for. And there's a report that's due later this week. I hope that Councilman Mendez will finally get in the report that was due a month ago. It's about accountability. You can't talk about presenting a responsible budget if you cannot submit your ELEC report on time all the time. People of Paterson will lose your trust. They'll lose their trust in you. So, Detective Cruz, thank you for that question, because accountability for me will be the hallmark of my administration, because when it comes to submitting ELEC reports, that's what we pride ourselves on, getting it on time all the time.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz, thank you. This completes your 3 questions. So you may go back to your seat. And at this time, our next candidate for question and answer portion is Mr. Michael Jackson. Mr. Jackson? Mr. Jackson, you may begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome, sir.
The first question that I'm going to pose is, I'm going to pose it to all the candidates. So the question is, and we can start at Councilman Sayegh and work our way across. As candidates, we all have acknowledged the need to require employees to remain as residents of the city of Paterson. Knowing the restrictions that exist, what will you do to bring this empty campaign promise home to the residents of the city of Paterson?
Thank you, Councilman Jackson. I'm a lifelong Patersonian, and preferably, I'd like all employees to be Patersonians as well. I have been a strong supporter of the Public Works Department employees. You're well aware of it. You're a supporter as well. And most of them live in Paterson, and they recirculate their dollar. The most important thing about having residents working where they live is that they help grow our economy. One problem that people often bring up is that police and fire are not required after a certain period of time to live in the city, because that was changed by the state legislature. So that's something we can advocate for. However, there are incentive programs to live where you work. So if we want to empower individuals that want to work in our city, there are programs that encourage home ownership, particularly in the public service sector. So that would be something that I would advocate for strenuously to ensure that people live in Paterson. Because ultimately, my goal is to get individuals to not only live here, but to shop here and eat here and make Paterson a destination. But it starts right here at home, and encouraging home ownership for those that are employed in the city.
Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Councilman.
Maybe I'll rephrase the question so that we can ensure that it gets answered. What will you do to ensure to bring this empty campaign promise home to the residents? We understand there are some restrictions that exist, but as the mayor of the city, what would you do to ensure that we, in fact, bring this promise home to the residents?
Thank you. You know, by law, you cannot force, something that only applies to the city of Paterson, But what we can do is take it to practice and eliminating corruption. What happens, Councilman, with many of those positions, actually those high-paying positions is when it happens, where either it's a director, or it's a police officer, or it's a fireman, or it's a teacher, which is not part of us, but those middle-class positions are the ones that Patersonians don't get access to, really. So one of the things that I've seen in the police department is that some people come, use an address for a period of time to take the civil service test. Once they go through the academy and they get hired, they move back to their home, wherever they live. But they are taking those positions away from our youth. So one of the ways that I'm looking to keep them here, because you cannot force them once they move, is to provide incentive. So with a police department, with a police officers in their first year that they make about $38,000. If you provide them with a $10,000 incentive, if they decide to stay in the city, it's a way that we might be able to keep them here in the city of Paterson. Unfortunately, that is not happening, and once we really analyze every single department, we will be able to retain more high-quality employees, middle-class employees that are the ones who spend good dollars in the city of Paterson. Unfortunately, the last ones, which are the ones that really lives in Paterson, are the lowest paid employee, which are DPW. For them, I want to create a career path in which they can start earning better dollars every time that they serve and every year that they serve in the city of Paterson. So it's through incentive that I'm looking to resolve that problem.
Thank you for your question, Councilman Jackson. I've been very active and very vocal about this, and we all remember when the position on this administration was open, that CFO position, I was the first person that stood against putting a person permanent on that position, because I do believe that that position should be opening to the Patersonian first, instead of bringing somebody from outside. One of the things that I will immediately put in place as soon as I became elected your mayor is to make sure that we enforce the residence required that we have, to make sure that this governing body, have a say when we try to bring somebody from outside to stop that corruption. I also believe that something that we have to put in place is to make sure that every department head live in the city of Paterson. Under Alex Mendez administration, you will not see a director living outside the city of Paterson. We have control, as the mayor, you have control of your department head, your cabinet. You got to make sure that those department heads live in the city of Paterson, to make sure that they shop in the city of Paterson. I also been helping our Patersonian with opportunity to become homeowner. I'm still fighting right now at this moment at the city council with the legislation to force the administration to make sure that those property that we have available, to give the opportunity to our Patersonian first before somebody else. I'm working on that right now, but once again, our directors, they all have to live here, and also I help the community with that $11 million project to make sure that our Patersonia became homeowner, and a lot of workers from the city took advantage of that. So once again, all the directors, everybody have to live in the city of Paterson. It's unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman, for the question. Clearly, it's about establishing strong policies, and I do support Paterson's residency for our directors and those that are at discretion of employment for the city of Paterson, for the mayor. And as mayor of the city of Paterson, I will strictly enforce that policy. As it stands now, I support residency. I think it's important. I think the quality of service that's being provided is often shaped by that perspective. But clearly, in the fire department and police department is a large percentage of those of the employees there live outside of the city. And I think it's a matter of not only trying to provide incentives. I don't believe I'm going to compensate you to do a job and pay you more to live in the city. I think the idea is to make sure that we hire folks from the city of Paterson, folks that are not just coming in and taking up temporary residency for the test, but actually a resident here. The way you do that is through the police aid and fire aid program with the Department of Personnel that require you to look at residency in a more deeper and consistent way. Also introducing, where to the extent possible, the Class 1 and Class 2 police officers that come in, special officers that is, that come in with a residency that is fixed and established, and then migrate on to the regular force. And that would be a way of making that possible, as well as providing a homestead program for city employees that we've talked about in converting our abandoned properties to permanent housing for some of our DPW workers and other city employees as well. Thank you for the question.
As far as the residency requirement, as we all know, civil service for police and fire indicates that we can't have them, we can't force them to be a resident. But one of the things that we could do is HUD has a program that's called the Officer Next Door program, that they have homes that are to be auctioned off. That gives it the ability for an officer to apply for that home so they could be a resident. That program was here in the city of Paterson. I believe that was somewhere like around in 1999. And a lot of officers actually took advantage of that program, and they still live in the city. One of the other things also that we could do is to get more of our residents for our jobs. We have to advocate, not just wait here and when you're in the council chambers and put it through public access channels. We have to actually hit the streets, go out there, and advocate for our youth to be involved and make sure that they have all the employment opportunities that everyone needs. I will be the biggest advocate of that. I do not, as far as a residency requirement, I will not recommend, if you want to challenge someone on a residency requirement like Mr. Rodriguez did to me and took me to Superior Court and also the Appellate Division in the state of New Jersey, those independent judges said Alex Cruz is a resident. Alex Cruz moved to Paterson in 2016 to advocate for our youth, to advocate for our city. Alex Cruz, as a part-time resident, right, Mr. Rodriguez, has done more for this great city of Paterson, for its youth, its seniors, every single for the benefit of our beautiful city, and I will be the biggest advocate for residency.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson, you may continue with your second question.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
If you do have one.
I do apologize. I don't normally write things down because I believe if you know the job, you don't need it. But since I'm asking questions, I had to subscribe them to text. So we all claim to represent all members of our community. In fact, I myself am a product of both the Latino community as well as the African American community. With that being said, and acknowledging that certain members of our community, as such, the African American community has been consistently shorted from certain opportunities. In fact, in watching one of your videos, Mr. Rodriguez, I saw you made a claim that the African American community was the leader or the actual problem in the community when it comes to crime and discrepancies such as this. What measures will your administration take to make sure that fair and equitable distribution of opportunities are made available to all the residents of the city of Paterson? And we can actually start at the end with Mr. Cruz and work our way down. The questions for everyone.
Thank you, Councilman, for that question. As we could all tell, you could base an individual on his past performance. Alex Cruz has been entrenched in our entire city. Alex Cruz was in the 4th Ward, assigned to the 4th Ward for 7 years in the substation on 12th and Rosa Parks. I was assigned to a substation on North Main and Jefferson. I've been assigned to every single ward throughout the city, protecting the great city of Paterson and most importantly, our residents. I'm here as an advocate for everyone. Alex Cruz instituted a COPE program for our children with bi-weekly payroll deductions from our officers. Started with a program of 40 coats throughout our entire city, which we distribute through schools and daycares in every single ward. And this year we gave out over 1,000. We've given out toys, over 10,000 pairs of shoes. We support every single sports program throughout our entire city. And as the mayor, I will continue to represent every single resident in the city of Paterson, regardless of race, religion, gender, because Alex Cruz is a servant of the people, for the betterment of our people. Thank you, sir.
Thank you again for the question. Bill McKoy has been serving this community for over 20 years. And you have seen my involvement in the community from the school board to the city council, and at all times are committed to honesty, integrity, full openness, and transparency, dealing with every segment of our community, regardless of race, creed, or color, and driving the issues based on what is right. I've done that my entire life. My Christian background calls for me to do that, and I've serviced every segment of my community. The Bill McKoy Foundation has been started over 14 years, and we pride ourselves in making sure that we can provide social service to our community and to service children, particularly during the Christmas time with our Toys for Kids, our most flagship service. And we have done that for school children in every school across the city of Paterson. So the issue of race ought not to be afforded or sought in any way, shape, or form when it comes to receiving the services of the city. And I've committed to do that, to fight in to make sure that the residents of the city of Paterson get the best that they deserve from their government, and the way you do that is to provide service across the board to everyone. I've done that my entire life. I've certainly done that all of my public service life, and I'm committed to doing that going forward. And if you look at my record, you will see that I don't shy away from difficult issues. I call them as they are. I'm a straight shooter, and that's what we need in the city of Paterson. And I look forward to serving you in that capacity as mayor and applying that standard across the board.
Thank you for your question, Councilman Jackson. And my goal as your next mayor is to make sure that we empower our community. We all remember the fight that I put in favor of our great friend Mike Henry, who passed away. Everybody was against him because he got a criminal record and denied the opportunity to serve as a commissioner of the Housing Authority. I fought for him, and he finally was elected. He was my commissioner of the Housing Authority, and he did an outstanding job. He's not with us this time, but that give you a clear example about my position on giving opportunity to our diverse community. And I will say this again. Alex Mendez will have a diverse administration that reflects the community, the citizens of the city of Paterson. Every ethnic group has to be included in Alex Mendez administration, and I've been very clear from day one with that. And I've been proving that right now my commissioner of the Housing Authority is Commissioner Bernard Jones, also as well, and I have another Latino on the Board of Adjustment. Diversity for me is everything, and everybody deserves a chance to serve in this community. I've been practicing that, and I'm ready to implement that as soon as I became your mayor of the great city of Paterson. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. As you see me or hear me say in many forums, I want a police department that reflects the residents that they serve and are supposed to protect. And that includes not only African Americans and Latinos, but everyone. So if you look at our police department, it's not the most diverse police department, or it doesn't have the level of diversity that it should have. Now, you made a reference, which I disagree with what you say. What I said was that the majority of the victims of crime in the city of Paterson are African American, and more, the majority of the victims are male African American, our youth, and that we have to design a plan to counterattack that problem, because the statistics don't lie. I'm a numbers person. That's why we are presenting what is saving lives, saving money. The way that we have been fighting crime by putting our kids in jail is not a way that we can really break that vicious cycle of poverty and that vicious cycle of incarceration, of crime. So that's why I'm introducing this plan in which, for a non-violent crime in the city of Paterson, for any of our youth, instead of putting them in jail, we're going to send them and we're going to force them to take a vocational school education so that they can become a plumber, they can become an electrician, so that they can find a way different from the corner to make honest and good money and grow a family here. When our kids doesn't get recreation or job opportunities, we're boxing them into the same corner where police officers are picking them up and marking them with a crime that they would, once they get marked, they will never get a decent job in their lives. So we have to break that vicious cycle of poverty and crime that many of our youth, especially African Americans, has been exposed to, and also provide the small business opportunities.
Councilman, the theme of my campaign is One Paterson, because irrespective of your race, religion, ethnicity, we're all here, and this is home for all of us. We're Patersonians. My wife and I launched a social media marketing campaign to promote local businesses, because we certainly believe that the diversity of our restaurants, our retail entities, is a strength, and that our diversity must be monetized, because it is a point of difference for us as far as our brand awareness is concerned. And I've developed a deeper appreciation and understanding of that diversity as I campaign across the city, whether I'm on Union Ave interacting with my Bengali residents, or Park Ave with Dominican residents, 10th Ave with Jamaican residents, or on Main Street in South Paterson with the Palestinian residents that we have. I see that this is what helps Paterson stand out. And I remember people said we had 52 ethnic groups in Paterson. Did a little research. It's actually more like 72, according to the census. So this is something that distinguishes our city from many other cities. And so I'm proud that Paterson is that mosaic, that tapestry, that other people could look to and say that this is truly somewhere where you can raise a family, start up a business, and have a decent quality of life. And as mayor, that certainly will be a priority. Monetizing our diversity and making sure that we celebrate that we are one Paterson.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The final question is for the current sitting council members. And the question is as follows. I've diligently held myself accountable to the residents of the city of Paterson and consistently voted against anyone extracting unnecessary funds from our city coffers. Finally, I've been able to convince some of you to join me on that fight, and as we voted against someone who has not done their job for the past 16 years. I would like to know from those of you who have changed your vote, what brought you to that point to change your vote? Councilman Sayegh, my question for you is, why have you taken such a position against the residents of Paterson as you counted votes to support someone who hasn't done their job for the past 16 years and basically has misappropriated funds along that way? We can start with Councilman Sayegh.
Thank you, Councilman Jackson. I have not voted against Paterson residents. As a matter of fact, perhaps you don't understand how a special improvement district works. They present a budget, and the budget is something we approve. They've created their structure within the CID itself, the Special Improvement District, and all we say is that we either approve or disapprove. We're not voting against any residents. The whole purpose of a Special Improvement District, because you haven't done your homework, is to improve the area. That's self-explanatory. So I am a supporter of the downtown CID, not necessarily of any specific individual, but the concept of it, because we created a Special Improvement District in 21st Avenue. We plan to create one in South Paterson on Main Street as well. We have another Special Improvement District in Bunker Hill that is operating effectively. Now, in the past, I've actually voted against the budget in Bunker Hill, which you supported, because previous Mayor Joey Torres was reaping a reward while he was the mayor, which I felt it was a clear conflict of interest, but you continue to support it when he was reaping the rewards through his LLC. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, considering he only hit the one minute mark, he negated the fact that the
no
resident,
rebuttal, Madam Clerk.
just adding to the question. It's not a rebuttal.
Commentary.
No, my question is, Councilman, is the question is for Councilman Mr. Mendez now, the same question? Because that would be your third and last question.
Yes, the same question
Right.
holds for Mr. Mendez.
But you wanted to Mr. Sayegh, Mr. Mendez, and Mr. McKoy to answer.
Correct.
Three. So, Mr. Mendez,
Thank you,
may
Councilman. Can
continue.
you
Thank you.
reiterate the question just to?
The question is as follows, Councilman. I've diligently held my position and held myself accountable to the residents of Paterson and consistently voted against any individuals who've extracted money, who've managed to extract money through any means from our community. In years past, I voted alone on these measures, but recently you've managed to change your vote in order to support this misappropriation of funding. My question is, what brought you to this position to change your vote, and why were you so diligent in voting against it in the past?
Thank you for the question, and it's good to check everybody's record, and I've been very responsible, making sure I'm making those decisions on behalf of our taxpayer, on behalf of our residents. I do agree that you've been working very hard against this improvement district in downtown because they've not been delivering the service that they're supposed to, and that make me change my vote in the beginning. I definitely support because let me be very clear. I'm a very strong supporter of a SID that they work. We have some improvement district. We have Bunking Hill Improvement District that working extremely well. But in downtown, we got to make some changes. I make some recommendations, and they didn't follow those recommendations, and that is the reason why I say no to their budget, because our downtown need a lot of help. And they have to change the way the budget. They are spending most of the money on administration, and they just have a few people doing the maintenance of the downtown. And our downtown is filthy, and we have to be responsible. Those are taxpayer dollars that has to be respected. And the only power that we have is our vote. And I always say no to the project that does not benefit the city. And I would like to add that I also been responsible with those CDBG funding. You will never see me voting against those grants, because when we lose those grants, we will never get that money back from the state. And I would like to bring the trailer park that you've been speaking about for years, for 1 or 2 years. In the beginning, the administration presented a different plan to us, and that was the reason why I said yes to that plan, and they totally changed the format, and we ended up with a trailer park. The administration presented a park at the River Street, and they invest the money into that park. If we don't vote, if we don't approve that, you will lose that funding. That funding go back to the state, and we will not get that money. We have to be smart on that, but like I say, actions speak louder than words, and I've been very clear. Say no to what is not good for our city and supporting what is the best for Paterson. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mendez.
Thank you. Let me say clearly that we as individuals have to be responsible in how we administer our actions and our deeds. I don't know that I would characterize what has went on with the SID as misappropriation of funds. That's a particular reference, and it has legal implications as well. I think the SIDs are an important part of a city like Paterson, and that can be effective. We've seen that with the Bunker Hill and other SIDs, where their budget is more detailed, very specific, and there's a balanced relationship between the compensation and the work that's being done. The issues that were brought forth with the downtown SID, clearly, by looking at the budget, raises some questions with regards to how these funds were being dispersed and the degree to which the dollars are being allocated to salaries as opposed to programmatic efforts. And those questions were raised. We gave the SID the direction to go back and bring to the city council a revised budget that is more detailed and specific, and show the degree to which the services are being provided. I will look at that budget on its return and make a decision as to whether or not it's something that I can support. We support the SID. These are funds that's being contributed by the businesses, and they have a board that manages their process, and we hold them accountable to manage their own money and present to us, the council, for the mere reason that it has to go to the tax office to get the money to the SID, and that's our responsibility. So I will continue to do my fiduciary work and to review the budget as they present to us and vote in a manner that's consistent with my policy and my approach for honesty, integrity in all things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. This completes your 3 questions.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Our next candidate will be Mr. McKoy, who will ask his opponents their questions. He has 3 questions, and they have 2 minutes to respond. Mr. McKoy, you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. My first question would be addressed to Councilman Sayegh and Councilman Mendez. In the last budget cycle, as you know, we were late in developing our budget. We had a number of temporary appropriations, and you both prided yourself in voting no on the budget approval under the premise that you would not support any tax increase. Recently, Moody's Investment Service revised its rating for the city of Paterson and actually gave us an upgrade. And part of that reasoning was that Paterson has been consistent in stabilizing its tax base, including things like having an approved budget moving forward. What we recognize is that with a lower rating, Paterson would be paying more in the interest we're being charged for our bonds, just as any household for a car note or a mortgage would be paying more. So with this new revised improvement in our rating, we're actually paying less. The question is, in light of this, looking back, in light of this, would you reconsider your vote not to approve the budget, and what do you think the consequence would be if other council members had in fact followed your procedure and voted no?
You would like to begin with Councilman Sayegh?
Mendez.
Very good, thank you.
So, Councilman, I've stated on the record that I wouldn't approve any increase because I represent a very fiscally conservative constituency in the 6th Ward, and South Paterson's a vibrant business district, and they feel like they're overtaxed as it is. Unlike you, I'm not an automatic yes for any tax increase. You've rubber-stamped 15 tax increases, much to the chagrin of taxpayers throughout the city of Paterson, especially those who have lost their homes. As a legislator, I have introduced ordinances to help generate revenue because that's the only way that we are going to get out of this budgetary fiasco that we're in. I introduced the abandoned properties ordinance so we can identify areas that could be developed so we can get them back on the tax roll and back tax rolls and create opportunities for investment and to reduce the tax burden. I also introduced an ordinance to create a commission to identify areas where you can save money as far as recycling is concerned, as far as illumination of municipal buildings is concerned. And also, as council president, I took the initiative to make sure that we introduced the economic development department, separating it from community development so that we could be focused on solely growing our economy so that year in and year out we're not experiencing this Groundhog Day where we're faced with a potential increase and you and some others consistently vote yes to increase taxes.
Madam Clerk, is it required that the members answer the question, or do they just pontificate?
No.
The question was,
there's no rebuttal. There's no rebuttal.
It's not a rebuttal. I'm asking.
There's no commentary either.
I'm asking for
No
clarification.
refutation, no rebuttal.
Mr. McKoy, whatever answer he gives, then we accept. That's it. And
All right.
And we move on.
All right. Maybe Councilman Mendez will actually answer the
Councilman
question.
Mendez is next.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. And my position it's been the same. Since I've been elected as a councilman at large in the city of Paterson, I've been fighting in support of our homeowners in the city of Paterson. And in the past 10 years, our Patersonians are being hit with tax increase after tax increase. And I've been looking to and see the irresponsible budget that the administration has been submitted. And we all remember in 2015 to 2016 that discussion with my former budget officer, Russell, where I identified close to $1 million over in the budget. And I'm the one that looked those line item by line item because another tax increase is not acceptable. This is a serious issue in our community. We have family live in the city of Paterson because they can't afford it to live in our city anymore. We have seniors that are living on fixed income because they cannot afford it to pay those taxes anymore. And as a person not being a homeowner for close to 20 years in the city of Paterson, I know the struggle of the resident, and I've been responsible. I submit my recommendation to cut the budget, to eliminate those positions that they have on those line items, to stop some of the corruption. And if I don't see that they eliminate those positions, the only power that I have to protect my taxpayer, my Patersonian, is just to say no on the budget, to force administration to submit the responsible budget. We got to stop spending money that we don't have. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, you may continue with your second question.
No, I'm still on my my first round.
First. Oh, I thought
right.
you were only asking two candidates.
I asked you that question.
That one question.
So I have a different.
No, if you wishes to do another question, it's going to be question number 2. So if you wishes to ask all 5 that same question number 1, that's one question. Am I clear?
That's okay.
You're
That's
only
strange.
allowed 3 questions.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. All right. Well, I'll do it this way. My second question then would be for Mr. Rodriguez, Pedro Rodriguez, candidate. I know that you have answered the question in response to Mr. Cruz, and you had responded to the question also at the Christopher Columbus debate that we had. But I think it would be benefit to the residents, in light of the recent newspaper article, to clarify your position or your wife's position and your, I guess, subordinate and his wife's position with regards to your investment or interest in the firm that is furnishing cameras for the city of Paterson as we go about connecting the police department or giving access to the police department to cameras in the community. There seemed to be some confusion as to whether or not you, your wife, your subordinate, and his wife have any interest in the company that furnishes those cameras. And I think it would be a good opportunity now to clarify that for the viewers.
The position has been always the same. I don't sell cameras. I haven't market cameras. I don't know Mr. Florio.
No,
the only reason, Councilman,
okay.
The only reason why Florio decided to put that out there is because when they do opposition research, they couldn't find anything else. The second reason is because they ran a poll and I'm leading the game. And in a way for him to protect Mr. Sayegh, to try to get him an edge into this election, he came with a frivolous suit, which is a lie. I have never met the guy. I have never toured anybody into the police department. I have never promoted any camera business. I have never tried to sell any camera or anything like that. So it's just a frivolous suit. It's a lie. It was to try to throw dirt into somebody who has nothing negative that you can talk about. So that's why my legal team we just got the stuff. My legal team is reading the whatever complaint he's putting out, and we're going to respond forcefully. We're going to respond with a countersuit to Mr. Florio, which I have never had a conversation more than 10 seconds, which Mr. Florio uses Mr. Adre to recruit politicians and give money to politicians so they can give him favors. He hasn't been able to recruit me, and I don't need his money. I don't want his money. I don't accept his money. And that has been my position from day one. He's a person that my only fault to him is that I want to give the residents that are abandoned to regular Patersonians and not to developers who fund politicians. That has been my only problem with the man who takes most of the properties in the city of Paterson. But Paterson and Pedro Rodriguez are not for sale. That's what it is.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, for the response. Hopefully everybody would respond to this question. This question will be for all the candidates, starting with Councilman Sayegh and going backwards. Given the awesome responsibility of the mayor to manage the affairs of the city of Paterson, can you provide for us your relevant full-time job experience that would qualify you for this office, and your example of whether you've managed staff in those job positions, number of staff that you've managed over the years, including budgeting responsibilities?
Thank you for that question. I am currently the Director of Job Readiness and Customized Training at Passaic County Community College. What I do every day is identify employment opportunities for Patersonians. I work with individuals who are on government assistance. So my goal is to transition these Patersonians from welfare to work. In addition, we train individuals who have been incarcerated, because I strongly believe in a reentry program, and it'll empower individuals and give them a second chance that they deserve. As far as the customer service skills training, we work with a whole host of nonprofit organizations and private entities within the city to ensure that their employees are best prepared for the challenges ahead. But I want to give you one specific example of a success story that I'm particularly proud of. So we were training employees at a company in Passaic, because the grant covers every entity within the county. And this was a major manufacturer. And as a result of our collaboration, this manufacturer hired 10 of our students, all Patersonians, to work at the facility in Passaic. We left so much of an impression on this individual that not only was he hiring more Patersonians, but he decided to move his factory to Paterson. As mayor, my priority is to put Patersonians on career paths like I've done at the college, and to make sure that manufacturers move into our city so that we could create career paths for Patersonians and to stabilize the tax base for taxpayers. Thank you.
To summarize what Councilman Sayegh said, is that I have no experience, is what he meant within so many words, but I do. Pedro Rodriguez, I have first, from my education, has a master's in business and administration. I was an operations manager of the largest telecommunication company in the world. I managed Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island. So to give you a good idea of the type of how many buildings and stuff like that and personnel, we're talking about more than 1,600 buildings that you have to deal with vendors, employees, customers. And besides the experience, which is almost 20 years in that sector, in telecommunications, where you are demanded to meet goals, you are demanded to grow, you are demanded to hire qualified personnel. I also have a small business in the city of Paterson, which is a printing business that is very successful with my wife. So I know what is to do payroll. I know what is to treat employees with respect. I know what is to meet deadlines. I know that when I put my private experience with my public experience as a commissioner of the Board of Education, deputy mayor, zoning board commissioner, and planning board commissioner, is the perfect match to lead the city into a better frontier, a new frontier that Paterson should be landing at soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Councilman, for the question. And I would like to start by saying that back in 2001, I was in charge in Hudson County in marketing for one of the largest companies here in New Jersey, a distribution company. But I took the decision in 2006 to become a business owner in New Jersey. And since 2006 until 2 years ago, I decided 2 years ago to sell my business. I have a conversation with my family, and I decided to sell my business to pay attention and put all my energy into the city issue, the issue that are affecting the city of Paterson. And being an elected official, one of the main reasons why I decided to run for council at large it was to identify the issue that were affecting the city of Paterson, the financial issue, economic development issue, and all those problems that you will have no idea unless you get in here and sit here and go over the budget and go over those topics that we had discussed here every Tuesday. That was the reason why I decided to sell my business and pay attention to the city to be ready for this time to become your mayor on May 8 on the line 1A. Thank you.
Councilman Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First of all, let me commend the speaker. It was an excellent question. You know, Paterson, what I would urge for you to do is please be diligent and do your homework. Don't allow yourselves to be misled. Don't allow yourselves to be fooled. Do your homework, please. Unfortunately, I had the unpleasant opportunity to have my entire business tenure landscape throughout the public social media and public media. So all of the things in which I speak about, everyone is completely aware. In fact, you can Google it. I don't have to tell you that I've been a director of some fabricated company that actually probably doesn't even exist. But I'm the only candidate that has personally put on the line, went out, sought after, and contracted, was able to obtain funding in excess of several $1 million and brought that investment into the city of Paterson that has been able to be a foundation of entry-level employment. So not only have I been an employer, have I been an encourager, I've also managed to inspire young people to want to be more and do more than just be employed, but to also seek the options of being self-employed. So I've managed to take a business through one of the worst economic climates in this country, next outside of the Great Depression. We fought through predatory lending. We managed to maintain our situation and not only revitalize ourselves, but to also be a thriving business. As our city's in a grave condition, I'm the only one that has the background that has done and managed through turbulent conditions and saw my way through that. This city's going to need a leader who could bring us through a tough time and who has the actual experience of doing it, not just fabricating stories.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz?
Councilman, great question, sir. Before Alex Cruz was a Paterson police officer, Alex Cruz worked for a company called IDM, International Dismantling. That company was a company that dealt with nuclear remediation, hazardous waste, lead abatement, match marketing, plant relocation. Alex Cruz was the youngest project manager in that company's history. I had the honor of working throughout our country and internationally. I worked with the Army Corps of Engineers, administering a job at Woodside, Queens, excuse me, with a value of $35 million, which was part of the Manhattan Project in the 40s. Alex Cruz has worked in Canada for 16 months, working with a company, American Cyadamid, dismantling a nitric acid plant. Alex Cruz has administered several multi-million-dollar jobs, and I will take that business ability that I have, that business experience, and I will bring a transition team of business-minded individuals to help me run the city that have the skills, the knowledge, and most importantly, have the vision, the desire, the commitment that I hold to our city of Paterson. I will make sure that I transform the city of Paterson into a business community. I will have a think tank of businesses, of faith-based groups, nonprofit organizations, and most importantly, the biggest ingredient is our community, to make sure that we run our city as a business, to make sure that our residents are given all the services that they desire and they need and they should receive. But most importantly also is to bring in that economic development that we so desperately need in order to stabilize our taxes, to make sure that economic is the big catalyst to come in here and employ our people and our residents and give us that bright future that Paterson desperately needs right now.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Mr. McKoy, this concludes your 3 questions. We'll now move on to our next candidate, Mr. Alex Mendez, who will ask his 3 questions of his. Mr. Mendez, you may begin when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome, sir.
The first question that I have is for Adre Sayegh. I'm just looking at my record. It seems, Councilman, that you have a problem with selective memory. Why haven't you take a stand of an illegal operation on Atlantis Street? Maybe because the person is one of your biggest supporters. Once you become a councilman, you become a councilman for the entire city. You vote in every project. Why you didn't take a stand on that section? I would like to know why.
Councilman Mendez, obviously you have not done your homework. That issue never came before the city council. You must have been absent because you missed more than half of the workshops this year. Shame on you, you're getting paid. It's your only job. Second, as far as taking action against illegal activities, you voted no on the commercial curfew ordinance. Who would do that? That has reduced crime in Paterson's hotspots by 70%. If you don't believe me, ask Detective Cruz. It's an effective measure in reducing crime. If you had your way, Paterson would be out of control, and it'd be just like my predecessor used to say, it's only Paterson, anything goes. You are not fit to be mayor, and you are soft on public safety and crime.
Sure. The second question, it's for Adre Sayegh. He is talking about constantly legislation that he have nothing to do with. And I would like to just check for the record, at the East Side Neighborhood Association, he lied about the uniform policy. You were taking credit for things that you were not part of. I was one of the person that introduced it, and I bring the copy just to refresh your memory right here. I will leave it with you. The policy that I put in place to refresh your memory. Now you continue taking credit for establishment that you closed. And checking my record, that there's always that there was an establishment. Gemini's was closed because the owner died. And I checked the record. He claimed to have closed business establishment when you have nothing to do. That's an administration job. And you continue taking credit for development on that section of South Paterson, when you really have nothing to do with that as a councilman. That's all the administration topic, the administration job. So I would like to know, what really have you done, since you're always talking about economic development that you got nothing to do with, closing establishment that you have nothing to do with. And I also would like to invite the community to look into the abandoned property legislation. That was the mayor that put that legislation in place. It was the mayor that got the curfew into the city council. So you're constantly taking credit for stuff that you don't own. So when you're gonna stop lying to the people about a record that you don't own? I would like to know that.
There you go again, Alex. Misleading the people. First of all, I did introduce the school uniform policy. How do I know? Because you came and sought advice from me. That's no lie. You asked me how I got it done, and I advised you accordingly. Now, as far as closing these establishments down is concerned, the administration, this is Mayor Joey Torres at the time, was not taking action on any of this. Now, I want to be mayor, and I consider myself the mayor of the 6th Ward. So I am strong on public safety. And I rose up for my residents. We gathered them, and we went to court. We came to the council, wherever it was. I showed true leadership. And we shut 9 notorious nightclubs down, working in collaboration with the police department, the fire department, the health department, whomever it was, just to get the job done. But obviously, you don't have a record of results, so you're going to have to try to poke holes in mine. And lastly, with economic development, How can you say I did not have anything to do with it? Just last year, South Paterson Plaza, we cut the ribbon. I was asked to MC it because I was instrumental in helping that individual make that investment. You probably didn't know about it. Well, actually, you showed up late for the free food. But I clearly was a catalyst for economic development in South Paterson. And as mayor, I will continue to be that catalyst. Thank you.
The third question is for Councilman Sayegh, as he's continuing his lie about economic development and project that he got nothing to do with. I will leave the copy of the legislation here on the table that we put in place at the Board of Ed, that way people look into all his lies and his fictitious successful project. And sitting here, we all know that we have nothing to do with those projects. And he continued lines left and right to the community. So I urge the community to just look into that. And the next question that I have for Councilman Sayegh, it is well known that a special interest group, including developer, are donating big money into your campaign. And it's obvious also that you haven't been reporting all those donations. Are you willing to commit not to hire any given contract to any special interest group donating big bucks into your campaign? Then the question is a yes or no.
You never cease to amaze me with your questions. This is coming from an individual that was cited in the Paterson Press for never filing his ELEC report on time all the time. You are not disclosing your donors, which leads us to believe that you're receiving dark and dirty money. I demand that you disclose your list of donors immediately before the election. You're past due several years. It's not fair to individuals like ourselves who hold ourselves to a higher standard and are responsible. If you're going to claim to have an accountable administration, it starts with you. And if you're mentioning Charles Florio, I've never voted on anything that is brought to the council on Charles Florio. I always recuse myself so that there's no appearance of a conflict of interest. And he's never had a project in the 6th Ward. But as far as you are concerned, you need to submit your information so that Paterson taxpayers, Paterson voters more importantly, know where your money is coming from. Because you've got an awful lot of signs out there, some of which don't say paid for by Alex Mendez, and we don't know where your money's coming from because you will not tell us. What do you have to hide, Alex Mendez?
Thank you. Mr. Mendez, you have 3 questions. Thank you. We'll just move on to our next candidate would be Mr. Pedro Rodriguez, who will ask his questions of his candidates. Mr. Rodriguez, you may begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The first question goes to Mr. Sayegh. At a recent forum, you stated that the most important position in any administration is the business administrator. And so I'm quoting you, okay? The most important position in the administration is the business administrator. And that's one specific role I'm going to be looking at very closely. It has to be someone that I can communicate with, someone who has had the requisite experience, preferably from an urban setting, with a track record of success, in economic development and employee relationships. End of quote. You go on to say that this person, then I'm quoting you again, will be the quarterback while you're going to be the cheerleader in chief. So, end of quote. The office of the mayor involves much more than just being a mayor. But I do want to ask you, based on your comments, are you planning to remove the Democratic State Senator Nellie Poe as BA of the city?
First, to dispel any rumors, okay. I'm not appointing you as business administrator after I'm elected mayor. Second, I'm not going to go on the record about a specific individual. What I'm saying is that I do admire what was done in Atlanta. The mayor did issue pink slips to every cabinet member, which conceivably is not a bad idea and doesn't mean you're terminating individuals. It just says, look, I'd like to bring you in all fairness, for an interview, just to see if your vision, my vision, align. And yes, I'm going to make sure that our business administrator is the most qualified individual that we can find. So as far as specifically saying whether or not I terminate an individual, I won't go on the record at this time. But when elected mayor, obviously, that is a position I will examine very, very closely.
Mr. Rodriguez, if I'm correct, did you ask the question of Councilman?
It was just
Mr.
to
McKoy?
Sayegh,
Just for Councilman.
because
Okay.
I was quoting him in
Okay, thank you.
in a form.
Continue.
You say continue?
Continue with your second question.
The next question is for Councilman Mendez. It is well documented in the media that you cannot handle your own finances. Evidence is by somewhat at least 46 bouncing checks, number of judgments against you, your failure to pay your taxes, sewer, water fees. You don't comply with the state laws and regulation when you have repeatedly failed to file election reports and has demonstrated lack of openness by not disclosing your contributor. The number of signs that we see in the city of Paterson doesn't reflect the $150 that you reported having on the account. So my question to you is, how can the people of Paterson trust you to be a responsible mayor looking at your track record?
Sure, and the answer that I have for this is clear. The residents of the city of Paterson, they've been putting their faith with their vote on me 3 times, not 1, twice, not 3 times, being the highest vote getter in the history. And let me just say this for the bounce check. I take full responsibility to that oversight. We have a team, but I take full responsibility. But all those checks, they're being satisfied. We have no debt out there. And Mr. Rodriguez, since you've been looking at the judgment, and you're putting so much effort into trying to get dirt on me, let me just tell you that those judgments are not mine. You got to do your homework better. I believe that, if we're talking about corruption, so if you're talking about corruption, being on my record, you're one of the most corrupted persons sitting here. You are a product of nepotism. Even the people that you try to confuse the resident of the city of Paterson. But your position was created because a political payback to former Mayor Joey Torres. And the community knows that. You took that test to get the position, to save that position after you got the position. So the resident of Paterson knows better. And there's other stuff up there. So we cannot talk about record because, you are the same, and Paterson doesn't want that. Paterson wants a different leadership in place who definitely is not going to allow nepotism. Shame on you for that.
Did you wish if someone else to answer?
No, that was for him.
So okay, thank you.
Next one?
Yes, sir.
The next one is going back to Councilman Sayegh. You have taken significant donations from various special interest groups that your administration will have to regulate, such as Classic Towing, which estimated about 9,000 towing to the residents of tow about 9,000 cars, estimated residents of the city of Paterson, and Mr. Charles Florio. How can you ensure that you will be impartial and protect our residents, given that the significant amount that you have been receiving from these contributors? How can we know that these endorsements and campaign donations are not part of the corruption? I honestly think that these properties should be placed in the hands of Patersonians. Don't you think that?
So which one was your question?
How can we make sure that with the amount of money that you are getting from Classic, from Charlie, Florio, and from those special interests, lobbyists in the state of New Jersey, how can we trust that you will will act responsibly on behalf of the residents of the city of Paterson?
So, Pedro, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth again, because in one breath you said you never met Charles Florio, but then in another breath you said I introduced you to him for about 10 seconds,
yeah,
which was a lie. I never introduced you to Charles Florio. You and I have never been in his company ever. But then again, you have a habit of misrepresenting and misleading people. Nevertheless, and you also claim you're self-funding your campaign, you're taking money from other entities as well. If you're self-funding your campaign, that means all the money's coming from you. So I just want to clarify that. Now, as far as classic towing is concerned, I recuse myself on any item that comes before the council. And you probably were not paying attention when I talked about Charles Florio. When an item involving Charles Florio comes before the council, I always recuse myself. Now, you want to paint Charles Florio as this investor that's coming from out of town and only wants to make money. But think about this. He hires Patersonians. He's hired 150 employees from Paterson. He is also, think about this, invested $100 million in our local economy. And think about every week, Cologne's Hardware. You can go and ask them. Feldman Electric. I did my homework. I wanted to see how much of an impact he's having on our economy. And Councilman McKoy and I don't agree on much, but we can agree that he's helped the Grandparents Resource Center. He's helped out Jumpstart. He's helped out various organizations. So here you are trying to demean me by taking this individual and vilifying him. Typical Pedro Rodriguez politics.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. This concludes your 3 questions. Our next candidate will be Mr. Adre Sayegh.
May I go, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Sayegh, you may begin.
This question is for Detective Alex Cruz. Detective Cruz.
Okay.
I'm sure you and I would agree, 6th Ward is better now than it was 10 years ago as far as the safety is concerned and the economic vibrance is concerned. It's on. So, Detective Cruz, just to restate the question, you and I most likely agree that the 6th Ward is better now than it was 10 years ago as far as our safety situation is concerned and the strength of our local economy is concerned. Now, at a previous forum, council members were dismissing the significance of a substation, which I believe is very vital to ensuring increased safety for our citizens in those various wards in Paterson. As a law enforcement official with a distinguished career in the Paterson Police Department, Detective Cruz, can you speak to the importance of having a substation in a specific section of our city?
Thank you for the great question, Councilman. Being a part of the Community Policing Division, which I was had the honor of being a member of that substation, like I mentioned previously, on the 4th Ward, on 12th and Rosa Parks, and also on North Main, and the 1st Ward. Absolutely, substations are critical with making sure that we bridge that gap within our community, our business community, and more importantly, our community as a whole. We need individuals to be embedded, fostering those relationships within our community, to making sure that we have the opportunity to address all their concerns in those wards. So substations are a critical part of my campaign, and as mayor, I will definitely bring in substations throughout every ward. But also we have to employ, as a public safety advocate, that we have to address every single concern in the city of Paterson. We have to also be cognizant that we have to address the needs up to where it's needed the most. I applaud you for instituting a 6th Ward, but our children in the 1st and the 4th Ward are killing each other. We need to employ every single police strategy possible to make sure that we curb the crime. And substations is part of that solution, but it should start where it's needed. It should be on the 4th Ward, it should be on the 1st Ward. Every single asset, every single police resource should be allocated to where it's needed the most. Thank you.
Thank you, Detective Cruz. Madam Clerk, that is the only question I have, and I just want to inform the 6th Ward residents that a police substation is coming to South Paterson by the end of May. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sayegh. We'll now move on to our closing remarks, which will be done in alphabetical order. And we'll begin with 5 minutes, and we'll now begin with Mr. Adre Sayegh.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Appreciate this opportunity so that we can exchange ideas to improve our city. And I must say that on May 8th, one of us will be elected mayor. On May 9th, all of us have to get behind him. Our city has suffered enough. The theme of my campaign is One Paterson, because I sincerely believe that although we're 6 wards, we're one Paterson. And although we're 72 different ethnic groups, we're one Paterson. And we're 146,199 residents, but we're one Paterson. I'm tired of Paterson being passed over and pushed around. It's time for Paterson to push back. The work that we've done in the 6th Ward can be done in all 6 wards to show that we can bring pride back to Paterson. I grow frustrated to see surrounding municipalities go out of the way to change their names so that they're not associated with Paterson, like Elmwood Park and Woodland Park. Shame on them. But we're going to push back. Because as mayor, I want to breathe life into a city that is gasping for air. And initially, upon taking office, I will mobilize our residents. I'm very fond of our 35th president, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, and he issued that clarion call in his inaugural address on January 20th, 1961, and if I may, I'll paraphrase. Ask not what Paterson can do for you, but what you could do for Paterson. We have a serious situation as far as missing out on federal funding is concerned. Every 10 years, we're chronically undercounted. And if there's anything Patersonians can rally behind, it's making sure that every Patersonian is counted. Because if we do get to that 150,000 number, we'll receive federal funding and a designation of a Class 1 city, which would mean that we could build more schools that our children need, which would mean we may get another hospital to accommodate the increase in population, which would mean that we could fix our bridges and roads, infrastructure improvement. This is about what Paterson should get. And as mayor, I will fight for it. I remember a few years back saying that the reason why I'm still in this fight is because Paterson is worth fighting for. I'll have an administration that looks like the city residents. I have an administration with highly qualified individuals. I wouldn't ask anything of anyone that I wouldn't ask of myself as someone who earned his master's degree from Columbia University in public policy and administration. And so Paterson's waiting to happen. Newark has happened. Jersey City has happened. Camden is happening. There's no reason why Paterson can't happen. And in my administration, it will. Because we have all of the ingredients here in our city. We have our history. We're the first planned industrial city in the country, founded by Alexander Hamilton, and we should leverage that. We also have our diversity, the 70-plus ethnic groups that have come from other countries or parts of this country, whether it was South America or the American South, to call Paterson home. We have to leverage that strength as well. And finally, the last ingredient that we have is our geography, the proximity to New York City. We might as well be another borough. All the ingredients are there. We just need the right chef stirring the pot for Paterson. This race is not about race. This race is about results. This race is about a resume. This race is about a record of producing positive outcomes for Patersonians. Paterson, I'm humbly asking for your support. I believe that we are at a tipping point. I believe that we are at this crossroads. And so I ask that on May 8th, you vote 2A for One Paterson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sayegh. We'll now continue with Mr. Rodriguez, who will give his closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, for hosting us today. and for giving us the opportunity to talk to the Patersonians. Thank you very much. Paterson, as you can see, the city, this May 8th, is going to make a tough decision. And I hope that it's going to be the right decision. Because we're going to make a decision on who's going to lead the city into the next 4 years. Either we give it to developers who wants to keep milking this city, who want to deprive the regular Patersonians from obtaining a home, who wants to keep taking the resources that we have available to make a millionaire a billionaire, or do you want an independent thinker, somebody who wants to give the city and the residents of the city a true opportunity to succeed, to bring jobs here? That's why I made the commitment early on not to take funds, money from developers who wants to take it all, or from special interest people that wants to give endorsements, money, resources, but in exchange of what? In exchange of selling the future of our youth. So the decision is going to be in your hands in this May 8th. Now, the top priority that we have in our plan is the reduction of crime. We cannot continue to put our youth that commit no violent crimes in jail. That has been the solution from the police department. That has been the directive from the administration. And that's something that we need to change. We are doing a disservice to our youth when we're not providing them with the recreation opportunities. We're not providing them with the education or job opportunities. But when they find the only solution that they see out there, which is the corner, then we go and pick them up and put them in jail. And once we mark them with that crime, they'll never get a decent job ever in their lives. So that's why I'm introducing, as soon as I become mayor, saving lives, saving money. That instead of putting non-violent criminals into the incarceration system, which is a very profitable for some companies that fund politicians through PACs and independent expenditures account, what I'm introducing, saving lives, saving money, is to give a true opportunity to our youth to reinsert themselves into society and be productive, to close and break that vicious cycle of poverty and crime. We, instead of putting them in jail for the non-violent criminals, we're going to force them to get an education, to become an electrician, to become a plumber. I'm an electronic engineer, and I know that not every kid that we have in the city of Paterson wants a 4-year scholarship or wants to go to a 4-year university. I know that they have the competence and they have the desire to go to a vocational schools and become a plumber. In fact, I know many electricians and plumbers that make a lot more money than me. And we got to give our kids that opportunity. In terms of the properties out there, I don't going to give it to people who finance Adre Sayegh. I want to give it to the regular residents of the city of Paterson. And that got me a lawsuit. It doesn't matter. I'm going to fight back because I'm fighting back for you on your behalf. And I'm gonna stand up to any lawsuit, a frivolous lawsuit and false lawsuit that can come up, because I'm here to defend you. That's why I don't take money from the guy, unlike Mr. Sayegh. The properties will be for regular Patersonians. The first condition that you need to have to acquire one of the properties is that you cannot be a property owner. We're gonna lend you the money to fix it. But we're going to put 5 conditions. You're going to have to live in that property for 5 years. You cannot sell that property in those 5 years. If you need to sell it, you're going to have to give it back to the municipality for redistribution to another residents of the city of Paterson. We're going to give you a list of contractors from the city that hire our Patersonians so they can do the job. We're going to give you an incentive for that. You're going to have 6 months to fix the property. And at the end of the day, when the property looks nice, I want you to go to the bank, mortgage the property, and return the loan to the city. So when you return your loan, the city is going to be able to lend it to somebody else. Paterson will grow again, but will grow with regular Patersonians being homeowners, because when you live in the first floor, you don't rent the second floor to a drug dealer. Now, when you have hundreds of properties, Who cares from any of those developers that have hundreds of properties in Paterson who lives in property number 245 second floor if he's a drug dealer or not? As long as the check keeps coming, they're going to keep renting. I'm Pedro Rodriguez. I'm in position 3A. Please give me the opportunity to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Our next candidate will be Mr. Alex Mendez. You may begin.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and thank you for putting this great forum together to have this discussion with our Patersonian. This May 8, we have a very important information decision, and that decision is to elect the next mayor of the great city of Paterson. I've been attacked for the past month. I've been in the press every single day because I am the front runner. I'm on the front, and I'm on that line, and that is okay for me. On my left, you have a candidate, which is Councilman Sayegh, that has been taking thousands of dollars from developer, and if he get into City Hall, he's going to have his hand tied, and he's not going to be able to represent you. He's not going to be able to represent the interests of the resident in the city of Paterson, and I'm totally against that. I'm in crucified because I'm running a campaign with very limited resources, but that is okay for me because I've been proven that I don't need all those thousands of dollars, and I will not commit myself to anybody to come into City Hall and start responding back to them as soon as I get elected. As soon as you elect Alex Mendez, you're going to elect me, and July 1st, I'm going to start working for you. I'm going to start helping you in your need and correcting the issue that we have in the city of Paterson. You have Pedro Rodriguez that talking about self-funding, and you'll know how well involved I'm in the community. And every business that I visit, you see this letter asking for money, requesting money. And if it's a check, sending the check to his company or somebody else, which is something that unacceptable. And he talking about self-funding the campaign. We got to stop all those lies. And that's what I'm bringing into the table. We got to be honest and we got to be transparency. May 8, you have the opportunity to elect somebody who definitely has been there for you. I've been serving the community, and you always see Alex Mendez in every corner. I know the entire city of Paterson, not like other candidates that they know only one section of the city. I'm ready to serve you as your next mayor. I'm ready to do that work for you. I'm ready to put in place that safety plan that will put police in every corner in those neighborhoods. And now you don't see those neighborhoods. It's not only one section of the city of Paterson. We got to attack crime where the crime is. And I'm ready to work for you as your next mayor to bring a effective recreational program that work for every children in the city of Paterson. My capacity as a board member proven. And now from this section, I will be working with the Board of Ed. I will be working with the county to make sure that we open those public buildings. Because those public buildings, those different schools, they belong to the community, not to somebody else. And I want to make sure that those public buildings stay open between 3 and 7 to make sure that our children get the recreational program that they need. I'm not going to go out again and ask the business owner, can you support the program, the recreational program? No, we have enough money on that budget. We have to utilize the CDBG funding that we're getting to give our children what they deserve. And I'm ready to work with every resident of the city of Paterson to clean Paterson for the first time in history. Paterson is filthy, we got to clean, and we got to work together. Please give me the opportunity to serve as your mayor on May 8th, and we're going to move Paterson on a totally different direction. I'm not bringing promise here. You see me for the past 9 years. I've been working for the city. You see Alex Mendez working with every group in the city of Paterson, all the ethnicity. And my goal is to bring everybody together. Enough is enough. We cannot be divided. We have to come together to do what is right for you, to stop those tax increases. And I've been fighting to help our community to become homeowners. And I've been doing that right now. I've been fighting for a legislation to stop those developers from buying those property and to give the opportunity to our Patersonia. That's action. That's not talk. I've been putting my work, and that's the reason why I'm asking you to please come out and vote for Alex Mendez, 1A on the ballot, and you will see how we're going to move our city forward by empowering our community, by cleaning our city block by block, and also by working with every business owner in the city. Paterson is not business friendly, and we got to help those mom and pop stores to become franchise. The door of the city hall will be open for every person in the city of Paterson to come on board, to put those ideas on the table, and to move Paterson in that direction. Paterson has a great history, the Great Falls, our stadium, but we have to start thinking outside the box. And I have the capacity, I'm aggressive, I have the energy and the vision to do what is right for you. And that is why I'm running this campaign the way I'm running this campaign. Please support me. I'm 1A Alex Mendez to bring the change that Paterson needs in the city of Paterson. 1A for Alex Mendez. God bless you, Paterson.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez. Our next candidate will be Mr. Bill McKoy. You may begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Pattersonians and Patterson voters, this is probably the most consequential election for the city of Paterson, to choose our next mayor. And we have before us a choice to be made, whether we're going to allow the ruling class, the elite, the special interests, those with deep pockets, to purchase our city and purchase our right. Your vote is your voice. Your vote is your power. It doesn't matter how much money you have, you only get one vote. Don't allow anyone to disenfranchise you and to rob you of your right to select for yourself your mayor. We have one candidate here who has garnered all of the endorsements upward and down from the state. The last time he ran, we told them Paterson is not for sale. And the ruling class and the party lined up on City Hall, and the people rejected and rebuffed them. So now they're not coming through the front door anymore. They're coming as a thief in the night, and they're coming through the windows and the back door. But it's the same fingerprint of the elite trying to determine Paterson's destiny. I submit to you that you're hiring a CEO for your company. The company is the city of Paterson. Councilman Sayegh has already told you he has no interest in being the mayor. He's going to select a business administrator that's qualified in his eyes, and I really mean qualified by the special interests who have given him the most money, to run the day-to-day operation of the city, and he will be the chairleader-in-chief. I'm not too sure what that job position is. It's not on our, it's not on our agenda. That's not what we're hiring for. We're looking today on May 8th to select a mayor who has the requisite skills, the understanding, the ability, the commitment, the honesty, and the integrity to lead Paterson forward. We're in a fiscal crisis. This gentleman has no financial background whatsoever. He has told you that. We cannot afford for another novice to be in the office of the mayor of Paterson to lead us backward. We need to move forward the city of Paterson in our interests with sound experience and proven leadership. You've seen my work over the last 20 years. You've seen my work on the city council, where I do not run away from the hard decisions and the hard votes. I'm not absent when the city is wrestling with difficult issues. I do not recede to find myself in the comfort zone of saying I recuse myself when my special interest is being addressed at the city council. That's not sufficient. Today, the problems of our city are serious, and we need a serious mayor with a serious set of skill set to lead this city forward and to move us into a new day. I commit to you that the fingerprints and the strings are all over it, and we need, as a city of Paterson, to stand up and to say enough is enough. We're not selecting someone based on relationships. If it is your relationship that is giving you a benefit, it's the definition of corruption. I do not expect the governor, the congressman, or the assembly to give the city of Paterson less services than they deserve constitutionally, or to give them more service because they're a friend of the mayor. That's the definition of corruption. That is what has gotten us into the position where we are now, where employees and individuals are doing jobs and are doing assignments based on friendship. Your Constitution guarantees you the right to liberty and justice for all, regardless of where you're from, regardless of where you call your home, regardless of the language you speak. You ought to be afforded the same service. I am Councilman Bill McKoy. You've seen my service over the last 20 years. And when I'm committed to you, I will be a mayor with honesty, integrity that you have seen over the last 20 years. I will have an open door policy where anyone can come to City Hall and sign up and see the mayor and have that conversation. We will move economic development forward, as you have seen on the Route 20 corridor. We will make sure we streamline city services, that it doesn't matter who you know or whose name you can call, you will be afforded the same courtesy as anyone else. That's how you have transparency in government. That's how you bring investment, when people know that everyone will be treated equitably and fairly. This city has lost considerable amount of money. Thank you. My time is up. 6A, Bill McKoy, May 8th, your next mayor.
Thank you, Mr. McKoy. We'll now move on to our next candidate, Mr. Michael Jackson. You may begin your 5 minutes remarks.
Thank you, Madam
Closing
Clerk.
remarks.
I'm sorry?
Your 5 minutes closing remarks.
Yes. Opening remarks, you said it first.
Not opening, closing.
Friends and family of the city of Paterson, we are at a crossroads, at a grave point in the city where I think that the decisions that's made within the next few weeks can either be detrimental or will take us in a new direction. The unfortunate part is it's just absolutely amazing how history tends to repeat itself. I remember being in these positions, several years back, and then years back prior to that. The fact is, we have yet to have a leader who has diligently held position in the benefit of the community of Paterson. Not during my lifetime. I've heard stories of a great mayor who roamed the streets and made sure that Paterson residents were looked after, but I have yet to see that. I've seen people benefit personally. I've seen people make deals that didn't benefit the community. I've sat in meetings and watched these deals unfold. One of the things that I would like to point out, and I'm sure that each and every one of you would have to acknowledge, that I've been diligent on the facts. And the fact is, Paterson is just not in a great condition right now. And there's all of the members of these various parts of government have an enormous role to play in that. And that is, in fact, some of the members in our local county government. We need someone who is going to be willing to challenge the status quo. We need someone who's going to be willing to say those tough things and put pressure on individuals who don't take Paterson serious. We need to restore pride in Paterson, and that person has to be one who's willing to exemplify that pride and not be willing to sell Paterson short for whatever types of deals that's being made. Recently, I spotlighted a situation where our garbage collection has been being overran poorly by the company who has those services. Since the time I've taken the seat and prior, even during my campaign days, I've talked about bringing back those services to the city, allowing us to create jobs. Unfortunately, because I've spotlighted this company, certain members of that company and, disappointingly, members of the municipal council and part of the administration have taken aim at members of our community to make sure that certain services aren't being rendered. These are the type of cheap tactics that are being played that directly speak against the betterment of our community. I make no apologies for the claims that I state. If anything is non-factual, I ask anyone to challenge me on the factual basis. When we talk about services not being rendered properly, we pay the garbage company an astronomical amount of money, and the first thing that I will do as mayor is cut those services and make sure we restore those jobs back to the community. We have to cut out all of these interest people, not even interest groups, but those who have different interests of the city of Paterson who work here. We're not talking about lifelong Patersonians who've committed themselves and because of no other option have moved on and decided to move their family for safety reasons. We're talking about individuals who seek Paterson as a a tactical measure to take advantage of our community. We need a leader who's going to be willing to stand up to that. I have exemplified that leadership role. I've stood against all of the things. At our last debate, none of the candidates can answer a simple question: how are you going to do it? Many have taken some of my catch slogans. Many have taken some of the initiatives that I talked about bringing forward. But yet, when asked the tough question, how will we do it, they couldn't answer that question. So therefore, bringing the need to be able to hire someone as a BA or whomever else to run the city while we walk around shaking hands and kissing babies. I may not make it to your barbecue. I may not have done the electric slide with your family. But every time I'm on this council seat, I've been responsible to one thing and one thing only. That's you, the residents of the city of Paterson. And as the mayor, I will hold each and every individual who renders services to you accountable. No more disrespect when you call city lines. No more disrespect when you're being spoken to by city employees. The disrespect that people have for Paterson must stop. We need a strong leader who will bring that to an end. My name is Michael Jackson, and I'm row 5A. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Our next candidate is Mr. Alex Cruz. You may begin.
Thank you. Thank you. First and foremost, thank you for this opportunity to address all our platforms.
You're welcome, sir.
Paterson city residents, friends, family, neighbors. In 60 short days on May 8th, we have to make a pivotal decision on who's going to be your leader. That's going to represent you, advocate for you, your friends and family, and most importantly, moving our city forward. Alex Cruz, as having the business experience, as I told you in my platform, Alex Cruz will be an individual with my base experience as a project manager for one of the biggest international companies around, working with the Army Corps of Engineers. I will definitely bring in a team of directors that have the skill set, the mindset, the knowledge to make sure that we allocate every single resources to provide the services that we desperately need, that you and your children and your family in our city needs. Alex Cruz, as the only law enforcement candidate, the only law enforcement advocate, having 24 years, I've bled in the city of Paterson. I've sweated in the city of Paterson. My heart, my soul is in the city of Paterson, protecting you and our great city and our children for 24 years. I will take that experience and make sure that I am the leader that will be out there representing you, representing your family in the forefront. I will not be sitting behind a desk. I've had shown by leading an example that I will be a leader that will lead you, that will take the opportunity for zero tolerance. Zero tolerance means I will bring the Inspector General here. None of the candidates are bringing that up as far as the Inspector General. The Inspector General will come in here as your next mayor. It's the first phone call that I'm going to be making. I will bring in the Inspector General to curb waste, fraud, abuse, illegal contracts. Make sure that we give you the vote of confidence that you so desperately need for government, which we know we don't have it right now. I will deliver cleaner streets. I will restore pride in the city of Paterson. So like that, we don't have trash receptacles that are empty. We have to restore that pride within our community. I will deliver safer streets. I will hire 100 police officers through attrition. As one retires, I will give you 2, not 3, because it's not sustainable. I will bring back substations needed, desperately needed, in the 4th Ward, in the 1st Ward. I will make sure that I collaborate with state, local, federal entities to make sure that we grab a hold of the crime so they could assist our narcotics unit, assist our ceasefire units to make sure that we eradicate all the gun violence and all the gang violence that we see. Because we not only see it, we feel it, Paterson. As your next mayor, I will be that leader that we are all desperately looking for. I will be that individual that makes sure that we take the opportunity of economic development, make sure that we transform the Hitchcliff Stadium, the National Park, the garage on Market and Memorial, turn that into affordable housing. Let's take advantage of Jersey City getting that Amazon job. That's 40,000. All those job employment opportunities, we could take advantage of the light rails. We have to make sure that we advocate, and I will continue advocating for our children, bringing after-school programs, more recreation centers, one that is desperately needed in the 4th Ward, and there's an abandoned factory right there on Summer, right by Summer and Montgomery. Ladies and gentlemen, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting something different. Alex Cruz is the change that Paterson needs. I came in here for one purpose only. It's to serve you, continue serving you in a different capacity, and as your leader, I will do everything in my power to make sure that the taxes are stabilized. Make sure that we have an opportunity to bring in small businesses. I will transform Paterson into a business community. I need, for faith-based groups, nonprofit organizations, the most important ingredient there is the business community. I need you and the community to sit around a table, bring in all the ideas of how we could bring our city forward collectively together as a community, as one. One of the things that Alex Cruz will also do, remember, I will transform our city into a live data city, which will create efficiency, effective government, and with Alex Cruz on May 8th, consider 4A for the change that Paterson desperately needs. God bless you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. To the viewers and voters, you have heard from all your candidates for the office of mayor, Mr. Alex Cruz, Mr. Michael Jackson, Mr. William Bill McKoy, Mr. Alex Mendez, Mr. Pedro Rodriguez, Mr. Adre Sayegh. But before I go, I have a few helpful hints for the voters, and this will be very helpful for them before they go out to vote on election day, which is May 8th. Your sample ballots will be mailed out by May 4th, 2018, and your polling site's location will be on the front of your sample ballot. Also, the polling sites will be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on election day, May 8th. Handicap polling site information is located on the front of your sample ballot, and voting machine demonstration is available at your polling site. Bilingual assistance is available at your polling sites. Legal assistance is available upon request at your office of the Superintendent of Elections, located at 501 River Street in Paterson. Their phone numbers are 973-881-4515, 973-881-4516, and 973-881-4517. Sample ballots can be carried into your voting machine area. A voter may apply for a mail-in ballot by mail up to 7 days prior to the election. He or she may also apply in person to the county clerk until 3 p.m. the day before the election. Note also that voters have an option of indicating on an application for a mail-in ballot that they would prefer to receive a ballot for each election that takes place during the remainder of the calendar year. Any registered voter on election day whose name is not found in the book can vote by provisional ballot. And also, have one more reminder. Our next forum for Council at Large will be held on Wednesday, April 25th at 2 p.m. right here in the Council chambers. And the candidates for at large on that day will be Mr. Mohammed Akhtar Guzman, Ms. Fatima Bell, Ms. Maritza Davila, Mr. Aslan Gao Sr., and Mr. Bernard Jones. On Thursday, April 26, 2018, at 2 p.m. in this council chambers, we'll have candidates Mr. Douglas L. Mavin, Mr. Kenneth McDaniel, Mr. Casey C. Melvin, Ms. Lisa Mims, and Ms. Angela Mohammed. And also on Friday, April 27, 2018 at 2 p.m. in this council chambers, we'll have candidate Mr. Flavia Rivera, Mr. Devon Roberts, Mr. Juan Mitch Santiago, and Mr. Zelly Thomas. If you have any further questions, you can call the city clerk's office at 973-321-1310. And this concludes our candidates forum for mayor. Don't forget on election day, you have 6 candidates for mayor. You go out and you vote for 1 candidate. On your ballots, you will be getting that shortly in another 2 weeks. For your council at large, you vote for 3 candidates. And this concludes our candidates forum for mayor. Good night, and thanks to everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon.
Thank you.
You're
Good night,
Thank
Madam
you.
Clerk.